There we go.
Hi,
Hi, how you doing tonight?
I'm okay. How's it going?
Oh, pretty good. Yeah, we're just fixing so we have a nice picture of you up on our screen for our viewers. So we're just getting that set up right now.
Awesome. Is it gonna be the the video here gonna be playing, or is it just gonna be like a?
No, it'll be a video, so it's like live to Twitch, and then we edit it down and send it to YouTube.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so
So
we're all good. We're
I
good to
was
go
wondering if
now.
I did my makeup for a reason or
Yeah,
not.
yeah, you're fine. You look phenomenal, and
Why,
welcome to
thank
the
you.
show. Um,
Thank you.
Thank you for coming to the show. Thank you for kicking everybody's ass because you don't judge like you everybody's fair game, right?
Hmm.
Equal opportunity. That's
Equal opportunity ass kicker.
yeah. That's what I was reading. So I got to appreciate that. Everyone needs to take a licking every now and then.
This is
Oh,
what happens when people run their mouths too much. I mean, what?
yeah, right. I need a friend like that to stand up for me because I run my mouth a lot. Um, yeah, maybe I could hire you to do that. You know what I found interesting was you now correct me if I'm wrong or just clarify everything for me. You were paid to go to parties
Once upon a time, yes.
once upon. So okay, let me see. All right, let's say okay, I have a bar in my house. Let's say it's a club, and I want to make it like. So what do I do? I contact you. I pay you. What are the duties?
Usually it would be essentially for me, I would use my social media following. It's almost like an influencer sort
Yeah.
of deal. Like I'd use my social media following, I'd repost, I'd make side parties happen or pre gaming parties
Pre-game, yeah.
happen.
Pre-game.
And then when I got there, I would literally go into the clubs. And if you ever seen the movie Party Monster, it's very similar. You go into the clubs, you go around, you say hi to a bunch of people, you grab your drinks, you make small talk, you dance,
Wow.
and then you just kind of smooch and I don't know, like it's like kind of like influencer socialite type deal.
Yeah. It just blew my mind. Is there any aspect from that experience being paid to influence and hype up a crowd pregame? Is there anything you took from that experience that you use now in the ring or out of the ring?
I don't know if it's from that specifically, but I grew up in theater and I
Oh,
grew up like in front of crowds and stuff like that. So it's never really bothered me to put me in front of a whole bunch of people and have to do something or have to say something or have to rally people. Um, I realize it's something that not everybody could do. You gotta kind of have to have that little bit of charisma and that little bit of spark to get people behind you. But
yeah.
for me, I felt like it was pretty easy because I kind of grew up doing that.
Speaking of your growing up, do you have brothers and sisters? Were they into wrestling? Was wrestling on? What did your parents think?
I have one brother, older brother. He was a state champion wrestler, not a
Ooh,
professional wrestler. He was a state
yeah,
champion wrestler. He wrestled legit, but he was and by legit I mean like
yeah,
Greco-Roman,
yep.
freestyle, all of that. He was very gifted. He got scholarships to go to wrestling camps, and my dad was a wrestler and a boxer. My grandpa was a boxer. So it's just kind of always been there. But growing up, like I took my first German suplex ever from my brother, like at age 7. Because he was on the wrestling team, and I
Yeah,
was, the kid sister who is also slash your wrestling dummy.
yep.
But I got to learn a lot from about like freestyle wrestling and stuff from him when I was young. But yeah, that German came out of nowhere, and I hit my foot on the table. That was fun.
You always remember tuck your chin when you take those suplexes, those German suplexes. Tuck your chin.
Yeah, at 7 years old, I had no idea.
Yeah, right. So you come from a family of ass kickers. So, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, totally. The one story that I remember, and this is one from like I must have been like 5 to 7. at family reunions, we have this family ranch, right? So at family reunions, we would hold it there. And as children, they would rally us up, all the cousins, and there's 13 aunts and uncles. So imagine how many children there are. And they would rally us up and they'd put boxing gloves on the kids and have us duke it out.
Mm. It's sounds like
right.
sounds like whoops, wrong button.
This isn't like a child fight club, though.
It sounds like all the family gatherings of us. We were all brothers. I think there's one girl in every one of our families, all the cousins, everything, just one girl. And but there was a lot of fisticuffs back then, so I definitely can sort of relate, I guess. But as far as wrestling goes, you didn't start kicking ass right out of the gate. Which I found interesting because you went, you studied. I think the word is visual journalism, which I guess is photography, or the art of photojournalism. I guess, is that correct?
Storytelling with pictures, yeah. Photojournalism.
Yeah.
I was at a Brooks for that.
What's that?
I was at a school called Brooks Institute of Photography, studying visual journalism, and we had to choose like specialty areas. So I chose sports and concert photography because I found that most interesting. And from there, one of my coworkers at the time said, "Hey, you should come shoot our wrestling show." And so I wound up doing that, and that show was a show that Joey Chaos was at, as well as at Funny Bone was at. Like, there was a bunch of people from the wrestling industry and the wrestling business that were there that are relatively, well known today.
Yeah.
So that's essentially where, I mean, if you want to say where the start was, that was probably the start.
Yeah, get your foot in the door, and that was UEW, I believe.
Yes.
And you got your foot in the door, taking photos for ringside. When do you make the jump from just being somebody at ringside taking photos to being part of the program?
When Gary Yap from Epic War kept seeing me around at wrestling shows, and apparently he really liked my look. And I was at these shows with Tyler Bateman and Funny Bone and Drago, and he asked if I ever considered being a valet, and I was like, oh, why would I consider that,
Yeah.
But he put me to manage the trios that was Balance Unlimited with those three guys, and that's essentially the start. Like, I wasn't a trained valet, I wasn't a trained manager, I wasn't a trained anything. I wasn't even doing ringside photography for them. I do ringside photography here and there, but Gary kept seeing me around all these shows, so he decided to do something with me. So that's the transitional point from behind the camera to in front
of it. And for those people in the chat, Drago is Simon Gotch, right? Yes. So
yeah.
For those, he's in MLW now. He's in the WWE. All right. So bring me to the Santino brothers. How do you get there? When do you get there? When did it click in your head? Maybe that's what I should be going to do now.
Well, when I was a manager, I always felt like I should be doing more. And honestly, I never wanted to be like, I always kind of wanted to be a wrestler since I was a kid. You grew up watching all these shows like Flow and WWE, and I really loved Flow as a child. But you have these strong female characters, and I always kind of wanted to be a wrestler. But the transition started shifting because as a manager, number one, there's not a whole lot of female managers. I went from ballet to actual manager, like suit, tie, whole, like I was like the whole 9 yards manager.
Okay.
I was a definite mouthpiece too, but I was so hated because I was a heel manager that people wanted to see me get my butt kicked. So
you're doing your job.
Being called out to matches as a manager.
Yeah.
And during those years, I had been training on the road with Tyler Bateman and basically B-Boy and anybody that would get in the ring with me. They were teaching me a lot. So I was able to do these matches as a manager. But then I got into battle royals,
Right.
and that progressed to having an actual singles match. So I'm having a singles match, not being fully trained, like I'm trained, but not fully trained. And that went off really well. And Joey Chaos from Santino Brothers was watching it. He enjoyed it, and he wrote on Twitter about it. And that was in 2012, December 2012. And that's about the time where I was making my transition from undergraduate school to going to grad school. So I started applying to grad schools and tried to be very conscious if there was a wrestling school around the grad school that I was applying to. And I wound up choosing to go to USC for grad school, and Santino Brothers was right there, and I had been looking at Santino Brothers, so that just worked out perfectly. So June 2013, I moved to go to USC, and that's also the same time that I started at Santino Brothers.
Nice. You said graduate school. What were you going to school for at that time?
Psychology.
Nice.
I actually have my master's degree in psychology. I'm a public scientist. I did
Excellent.
research on humans.
There you go.
Research on humans. I was a clinical psychology research, all that, and then when I went to grad school, I switched to psychology for evil. I switched to consumer psychology and started figuring out how to use people's brains to make them buy stuff.
Yes, I like that. My background is I have a master's in applied behavioral analysis, so I study people, data, all that fun stuff. Specifically, I do children with autism and help them with their behaviors. But yeah, so when I found out you were doing psychology, I was like, oh, that's awesome. She's gonna manipulate people. That's what it's about, pretty much.
I did. I actually, in my undergraduate, like my specialty was persuasion, and then when I did consumer psychology, I decided to keep up with persuasion. So
yeah,
I mean, I could start a cult.
Yes.
Think about the possibilities. I could start a cult.
Yes, you could. Yep. And there's nothing wrong with that. Right? Some people, that's what it goes.
Or make you buy a stick of gum, whatever.
Yeah. A pack of gum. You know, you order something on Amazon. Just click it. It's got to make it clickable. Just click.
Make it easy.
Make it easy. So I was trying to do my research and get my notes and try to make it somewhat flow. But something that came up that I loved was you kept saying wrestling, pro wrestling. I was listening to another podcast and you kept saying wrestling, pro wrestling, wrestling, pro wrestling. I was like, what is going on? I've never heard of that. And so then I had to delve into that. And it was a promotion, I guess, from Brian Kendrick. And so then I fall down that rabbit hole. And you played a character. You played a lot of characters over there. But one of my favorite was Ruby Huxtable.
That was my first character. I did Ruby Huxtable as, that's the way Brian brought me into wrestling, pro wrestling. So I was essentially like a 7-year-old little girl. But she eventually got killed. She got the frying pan. She ended up dead. And then after that, Brian just used me as a regular wrestler because wrestling, pro wrestling, for the people that aren't familiar with it, is a very out there, kind of ethereal, takes part in outer space, kinda, and it's kind of like if you watched wrestling, but you were on LSD, maybe, because the Loch Ness Monster is in there. There's a Emotep, one of the mummies. It's just crazy and wacky and out there. So, but in there and in all those characters, there's also straight wrestling matches, and so after that, I got just that's me.
That's you. Yeah, I just thought that was so funny because I grew up watching, the Cosby Show and Rudy, and I was just like, oh, that's so interesting. Come out as Rudy Huxtable with interesting stuff. You also played, I believe, Ruby Kruger. You played some
that I do that just on my own. That's I have I don't know if you call it an alternate persona, but I have this other side of me that comes out, which is kind of like my horror persona.
Okay.
One of my coworkers named it, or coworkers, and a fellow wrestler named it Hija de Mil Maniacos, which is translated to like daughter of 1,000 maniacs. The Freddy Krueger gimmick. I have Raze Krueger gear. I have Michael Myers gear that I have. I have Hannibal Lecter gear, wrestling gear. I have sketches for a couple more horror gears, but I do those on kind of special occasions, or if it's like a good Lucha show, I'll do it for a Lucha show, or if it's I did it for the AWS Women's Tournament in 2017, 2018, where I went through all the rounds, and every round that I came out bloodier as a different horror persona, and made it through all the way to the end. And by the end, I was, drenched in blood, came out as Hannibal Lecter. I had people walking me out with the shackles and everything like that. So yeah.
Yeah, it's got that Rosemary Sue Young vibe with the character and the undead and all that. So do you prefer doing character work? I mean, it's hard to say. Do you prefer doing those? Do you prefer being a character as opposed to Ruby yourself, Ruby Raze? Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
I don't know if I necessarily prefer it.
Yeah.
But it's something different because I feel like the horror persona side of me that doesn't always come out, I feel like that's kind of like wrestling pro wrestling where it exists in another plane. It's like another dimension.
Yeah.
Anytime I post about it, I don't post about it as me. I post about it as her. And I talk about Dad because she's very Dula Dent in the fact that she sees all these horror icons as her father. So, dear old Dad taught me this, this and that. But she also runs with her different set of rules. So me, I know who I am. I am who I am in the ring. I am Ruby Raze. I'm the equal opportunity aspirator. But if I wrestle as her, she has a different set of rules. She has a different set of motives. She has, a completely different style and everything than I do. And someone once said, like, oh, well, blah, 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 blah. You need to go out there. It's a lucha show. You need to do lucha. And, like, literally my response was, like, Raze doesn't lucha. Like, I don't know. This doesn't happen. I don't necessarily prefer one over the other. I actually really I like being me, and I like doing the horror gimmicks. It's just going to all be whatever fits where.
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever fits where. No, it's good. AWS, you mentioned. You wrestled... I watched one of the matches today. I think it was, man, I hope I get this name right of this wrestler. I think it was Havoc from Impact in AWS. Am I correct? Jessica Havoc. Yes, Jessica Havoc.
Yeah.
Hell of a match. Have you had any tryouts? Have you had any run-ins with Impact or any of the other promotions like that?
I've wrestled for Impact before. I don't remember the year, 2018, 2019, something like that. I did wrestle for Impact against Jordan Grace. I was slated to wrestle for WWE once upon a time, but I have a really weird health issue that they told me they didn't want to do with me, so okay. But that's about it, is Impact. I mean, I wrestled for Shimmer. Yeah. I don't know if you consider that.
I do.
But there's definitely other places that I would like to wrestle.
Raze, I think you were in as well, which was it's good. So, where was I going to go next? Oh, the other thing that I heard you talking about in one of the podcasts that I researched with, and I apologize, I don't remember who it was with. No, I do. It was something SoCal something. Anyway.
SoCal Wrestling.
Yeah, SoCal Wrestling. Was that the name of the podcast though? I don't know. He focused on SoCal Wrestling. But anyways, you started talking about Up All Night shows, and I heard the passion come through when you started talking about it. Why don't you let the people know in the chat what that's all about?
So Up All Night is essentially kind of like my brainchild. That's my baby. It is a wrestling show that took place out of the Santino Brothers dojo. I would consider it a Santino Brothers product. I don't know. I'm pretty sure they do too. It was out of the dojo, and essentially I wanted to put together a show where I could put matches that I wanted to see, and get matches that weren't happening on the indies that I wanted. That I felt like should happen, and it gave wrestlers another place to work, and I wanted it done as a studio. So we're doing this in the Santino Brothers dojo. The only people that were allowed to be there were the wrestlers. We didn't invite the audience in. We didn't invite audience. We didn't invite the public or anything. If you're a wrestler, you could be there. If you're not allowed to be there. Completely run by wrestlers for the wrestlers. That was my baby. I was the booker. I was the writer of the show, producer. I had a really good crew, all the Santino Brothers crew that was there helping me, and it was I loved it. I still love that. It was great to be on the other side for once and to be able to put together what you see in your head and the show you want to see. And we filmed it like a studio television show. So we had the wrestling, but we also had vignettes and skits that we wrote out, or that I wrote out, and everybody there. Some people were just getting their feet wet. Some people were seasoned wrestlers, like Tyler Bateman was on there, Jake Atlas was on there, Andy Brown was on there. And honestly, I felt like the intimate environment really opened up a lot of people, and you got to see what they were really made of. Because, well, now we don't have to worry about these big audiences and a bunch of people we don't know. Let's just focus on the wrestling, focus on telling a great story in the ring. And honestly, they laid it into each other. I have not seen one of the hardest hitting. Like, these matches are so hard hitting, and it's great. And you can watch them all for free. We did exactly 1 year before we had to get shut down because of COVID.
Yeah.
So we did a whole year's worth. And if you watch it, you could follow the storylines that I wrote in there between the wrestlers and the skits and the extra personalities we have. And we culminated at year 1 with the Survive the Night tournament, nice. Which was great. And that was, I loved it. It was good. I really missed that. That's my baby.
Yeah, and you can get. You said you can get that on the Santino Brothers YouTube.
Yep, just look up All Night. Yeah, Up All Night. Up All Night 2. Up All Night 3. Yeah. Keep going. You can find them all.
We'll find it. Is that something you would like to do more of in the future? Do again? The writing, the producing, booking it all out?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. You know, as soon as this pandemic, I don't want to say the pandemic's over, but as soon as, things are lifted enough, I know that that's going to be one of the first things I want to come back. Everybody that came in through those doors at Up All Night, they were so passionate about being there, and they just loved it. There was we had barbecues and stuff going on at Up All Night too. So, it was this big family environment where everybody just came, you ate, you wrestled, you beat each other up. It was like my old family reunions at the ranch. Okay, we're gonna eat and then we're gonna beat each other up. So that's definitely one of the things I want to do. And I honestly want to go outside the Santino Brothers Up All Night universe here, and I want to do a couple of big shows. I don't mean to run a promotion on a weekly, monthly basis, but I would love to do quarterly shows, or even just a couple specialty shows that I already have written out on paper, and I know the matches that I want, I know the stories that I want. This is something I love to do. This I like putting things together. I love being creative. I love those aspects of wrestling, and to be able to do that is just so fantastic.
Yeah, write something up. Do it 2-3 times a year. Get it on Fight or something. Put it up on something like that. That'd be awesome.
Exactly, and it's everything I already have set up in my head and written out for all these things. It's gonna be it's fun. Yeah. It's gonna be fun, and I want to do it. It's just universe, make it work for me.
Right, I know. And we right before you got on, we were talking about some of the stuff, and we're like, when we get back to, everyone says that when you get back to normal, but or when fans come back, and it's just to the point where, okay, well, I mean, how long are we gonna say that for? We gotta figure something out. That's I don't know.
Yeah. I really wish that it could be sooner than later, but here in California, every wrestling shut down, all of wrestling. Obviously, independent promotions shut down because the audiences and whatnot, but then our TV productions, such as Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, we had to go to no audience, and that's okay. We could run with no audience. Primetime Live, United Wrestling Network, we were running without audience there too. But then when things got bad again, even those had to get shut down, despite us having COVID officers and massive regulations and compliances throughout our shows. We're not. We're shut down. And WOW, Women of Wrestling, that's another one that I'm on. That's completely shut down. They're not coming back anytime. So, hopefully hopefully.
Man, that's shitty. That just brings me down. Um, Tyler Bateman. You've mentioned him a few times tonight. Tyler Bateman's on Ring of Honor. I've seen him. I've seen him on New Japan Strong actually. Recently. He scares me. Um, should I be scared of him?
Oh, of course.
Yes, I should, right?
Of course. I think he is a man who deals in the business of violence. He's the one that taught me. Tyler Bateman is the one that taught me like 90% of what I know. So when you see me with those hard hits,
Oof.
that all came from him. Like
Yeah.
he's not only the guy that originally trained me, he's my mentor to this very day. We still talk on a daily basis when it comes to wrestling. I go to him for pretty much 99% of my advice.
Yeah.
I would be afraid of him.
Yeah.
Sometimes afraid of him. I know him. I'm his friend.
Man, you'd fit in great with those guys over there in Ring of Honor. Bateman and Vincent. Just standing alongside of them, you'd be menacing. That might be a good fit for you over there. Tell you the truth.
I would actually Ring of Honor above anything right now. Ring of Honor is actually where I want to be. That's one of the spots that I wanted to be at, and it's just really great to see Bateman in there. You're where I want to be, but he knows that. Like he knew from before that was a spot that I wanted to go to. So hopefully, I don't know. Let's start a petition. Could we like make a banner, start some signs? I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. ROH Ruby. We can start a hashtag, Vanessa. Can't you do one of those?
I sure can.
Yeah, you can. A question sometimes I ask, and it kind of only comes up during this pandemic. Or I don't want to do that. That's not right. It is a pandemic. Not quotes. That was wrong. Have you learned any new talents or tricks during this weird time where we're all stuck in our house for extended periods of time? Any talents or anything maybe you can use in the ring? Maybe you can't. I don't know.
I learned how to make a dream catcher.
A dream catcher.
I learned how to make one of those dream catchers. No, that's about the only thing I've really learned because I was like, hey, I have time and I always want to learn how to make a dream catcher. Let me figure this out.
There you go.
But no, I've been. I'm probably one of the people that everybody hates because I still go out on a daily basis and I go to the beach pretty much on a daily basis. I just took a trip to Costa Rica. I just got back from Costa Rica. All this is all surfing. Yeah. So I've been in the water, bodyboarding, surfing, learning, going back to my roots because I grew up here in the 805 beaches of Ventura County. Like I live like it's that way, like 12 minutes. I live like 12 minutes from the beach. So I grew up here and I grew up in the water. I grew up bodyboarding. So that's what I've been doing pretty much this whole pandemic. I got back to the water, got back to what I was doing. And my brother never stopped. I stopped because of wrestling. Mm-hmm. I stopped going to the beaches. I stopped being in the water. He never stopped. My brother's been a surfer for over 20 years. So he's been really happy to see me get back to the water because 12 years in wrestling, like that's a long time to be out of the water. Yeah. But I gotten back to the water. He's teaching me how to stand up surf. I've been heavy into bodyboarding, Costa Rica, almost drowned.
Yeah, I was gonna say you've had some near-death experiences. You be careful out there.
I know. I got pinched by a crab. Like I've never been pinched by a crab in my life. I got pinched by a crab. I got stung by a sea urchin. I got that came out bloody. I got pushed. I fell off the top of a wave and I just got jumped into the water and held down. And I'm like, oh my god, am I gonna die in Costa Rica? Maybe. Okay. Well, at least it was fun, right? But it's just been a great time out there in the water. I guess if you want to relate this back to wrestling though, like my cardio is kind of getting top notch from being in the water. Like I went to the gym today and I was jogging. I was like, hey, this is a lot easier than it was before.
Awesome. Well, Ruby, we're nearing the end of the show. Why don't you let everyone know in the chat, and then people on YouTube when we push this out, where we can find you, where we can learn more about you, and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I am under pretty much every social media under the name Razor Pops. That's RAZERPOTS. And that's my website too, razorpops.com. If you want to email me, razorpops@gmail.com. Like I made it make it easy for everybody.
It's that psychology. Got to make it easy. That's right. Awesome. Ruby, you've been a pleasure to talk to. Thank you for giving us your time tonight. Vanessa, any final words for her?
No, I was just gonna circle back when she was saying
Yes.
Bateman was like going stiff. I watched your match with Willie Mack, and I was like, they're laying that in. Like that is for real.
Oh yeah, Willie Mack. I think Willie Mack is probably one of the top 3 hardest chops that I've ever taken in my life.
Yeah, like the whole match. My husband's like, this match sounds painful because the whole time I was like, oh, ow.
It was painful. It was painful. Tell him if he thinks that's painful, watch me versus Brody King. Like that one was. Ooh.
Oh, that is a must watch. I might have to watch that later. That is a
Find it, look it up. It's brutal. Yeah. The beginning is definitely brutal. If you can make it past the beginning, cool.
Okay, Ruby, thanks. We'll let you go. Thanks for giving us your time and spending it with us. And the door's always open if you need to plug something. So have yourself a wonderful night.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, later.
Bye.
Bye. Awesome. Good stuff. Stiff.
Got it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we're good. We're good.
Awesome.
Yep.
All right. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, anytime. Have a great night.
Have a good night. Bye.